大家好，我是 Martin, and this is Short Stories, brought to you by the Taichung Keda Language Center. Today's short story is called Alfred Bulltop Stormalong. It is about an American folk hero who goes on a sailing adventure and also learns a valuable lesson along the way. Before I read the story, I will read the vocabulary and vocabulary example sentences. After the story, I will give you 4 listening comprehension questions. Let's get started.
Vocabulary. Heyday. Heyday. In his heyday, Hank Aaron was the best hitter in the MLB. Commodity. Commodity. The country's most valuable commodities include coal and wheat. Anchor. Anchor. We decided to weigh anchor and set sail. By heart. By heart. I can recite the lyrics that I have learned by heart. Valuable. Valuable. He has many valuable paintings. Mast. Mast. Odysseus tied himself to the mast. Corner. Corner. The police cornered the thief in the basement. Harpoon. Harpoon. Captain Ahab threw his harpoon at Moby Dick. Pay handsomely. Pay handsomely. The rich man paid the painter handsomely. Go separate ways. Go separate ways. After 12 years of fighting for justice, the superheroes decided to go their separate ways. Now it's time for the story. The 1840s and 1850s were the heyday of the American whaling industry. Whale oil and spermaceti were valuable commodities that had industrial, practical, and cosmetic uses. It is believed that the U.S. had 80% of the world's whaling ships, the majority of which were based in one town, New Bedford, Massachusetts. It is near here that our story begins. Alfred Bulltop Stormalong was born in Cape Cod. He wasn't like ordinary men. He was 2 fathoms tall, weighed as much as a ship's anchor, and had arms the size of cannons. He began his sailing career at the age of 12 when he signed on to a ship in New Bedford. The captain soon figured out that Stormalong was born for the sea. He could raise and lower the anchor all by himself. He knew every single rope, line, and knot on the ship by heart. He could even stay on watch for 3 days straight. It wasn't long before Stormalong was promoted, and by the 1840s, he had his own ship, the Tuscarora. He hired a crew and set sail. Their main target was the very valuable sperm whale. They were so successful that Stormalong was able to build a new ship, the one that would make him famous, the Courser. The Courser was so big that it couldn't fit in New Bedford Harbor, forcing him to move to Boston as his base of operations. However, not even Boston Harbor was big enough for this ship. While sailing through the English Channel, the ship got stuck between England and France. The crew had to soap the sides of the Courser so it could squeeze through. Thus, it turned the cliffs of Dover white. Furthermore, the mast was so tall that some people said that it had to be hinged so it could be lowered to avoid hitting the moon. The ship was so long that crewmen needed horses to get from one end to the other. It was a whaling ship, and it had 100 ovens on board called tryworks. These ovens were used to boil the whale blubber into oil. Stormalong and his crew were very successful whalers. They hunted down and killed nearly every sperm whale on Earth, except for one, which Stormalong named Kraken. Kraken was the largest sperm whale to ever live. It was as big as the courser. Stormalong chased that whale all the way from Hong Kong to Iceland. Finally, he managed to corner it in the Bermuda Triangle. Stormalong grabbed his harpoon and was just about to make the killing strike when he noticed something unusual. He saw another whale next to Kraken, and between them, a baby whale. Kraken was a father. The sight of the lonely whale family, the last family of sperm whales on Earth, touched Stormalong's hard heart. He lowered his harpoon, gave Kraken a pat on the back, and said to his crew, "Let's go home, boys." Stormalong wasn't the same after that. He decided to retire from the whaling business. His crew was paid handsomely for their work, and they went their separate ways. The courser was stripped down and sold for parts. The keel was broken down and used in mines all across the American West. The deck was used to build the Transcontinental Railroad. The spars, booms, and gaffs were used to build the first telegraph network. The tryworks were taken apart and used to rebuild the city of Chicago after the Great Fire. Finally, a man named Sam Keir bought some planks from the poop deck and used them to build the first oil refinery in Pittsburgh. The kerosene produced at this factory replaced whale oil as a means for lighting homes and businesses. With the advent of new technology, whaling was no longer necessary. What happened to Stormalong next is a mystery. Some say that he retired on a farm. Others say that he is still out at sea. Wherever he is, sailors are still singing shanties about him and his exploits. Now for the listening questions. Number 1. Which is a use for whale products? A. Home lighting. B. Makeup. C. Industrial lubricant. D. All of the above. The answer is D. All of the above. I mentioned that whale oil has industrial, practical, and cosmetic uses. And near the end of the story, I mentioned that it is also used for lighting homes and businesses. So it is used in all of these things. Question 2. What was the name of Stormalong's most famous ship? A. The Tuscarora. B. The Courser. C. Kraken. D. Bulltop. The answer is B. The Courser. Question 3. Why did Stormalong retire from whaling? A. He felt sorry for the whales. B. He was bored with it. C. He killed all the whales. D. He ran out of money. The answer is A. He felt sorry for the whales. Question 4. What happened to Stormalong in the end? A. He moved to a farm. B. He continued sailing the seas. C. He retired to a mysterious island. D. No one really knows. The answer is D. No one really knows.
Well, that's the end of today's short story. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye.